Most people think being stuck is about bad luck, or not having the right opportunity, or maybe being too scared to take a leap. But the truth is, stuck is usually self-betrayal. Not betrayal from others, but the ways we betray ourselves every single day. When you silence your voice, when you bury your desires, when you live someone else's story instead of your own. And the worst part is, most of the time you don't even realise that you're doing it. So in this video, I'm going to share 7 subtle but powerful betrayals that keep people stuck, and how to finally start living in truth again. Because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. And once you stop betraying yourself, stuck doesn't stand a chance. Every time you silence your voice, you trade freedom for approval. You swallow your words to keep the peace. You nod when you want to scream. You smile when you're breaking inside. But silence isn't safety, it's self-betrayal. So where have you been giving up your voice just to feel accepted? And that answer's going to show you exactly why you feel stuck. Every time you silence your voice, you betray yourself. You know that feeling. The meeting where you had an idea but stayed quiet. The conversation where you wanted to speak up but fear held you back. The moment you smiled and nodded when every part of you wanted to scream. On the outside, you kept the peace, but on the inside, you chipped away at yourself. Because silence doesn't just protect relationships, it erases you from them. And the truth is, silence isn't safety, it's betrayal. Your voice is your foundation. Without it, nothing you build will stand. And every time you trade your voice for approval, you trade freedom for a cage. And the real question isn't, why am I stuck? It's, where have I been betraying my voice? Because the moment you lose your voice, you don't just lose sound, you lose yourself. And most people don't get stuck because they want too much. They get stuck because they stop wanting it all. You tell yourself, I'm fine. You shrink your dreams to be realistic. You settle for less because going after more feels selfish. But burying your desires isn't maturity, it's self-betrayal. So what's the one thing you secretly want, but you don't dare admit it? And if that question makes your chest tight, wait until you see the next betrayal. Stuck doesn't come from wanting too much, it comes from betraying your desires. How often do you tell yourself you're fine when you're really not? You bury the dream of starting the business. You quiet the longing for a different kind of relationship. You tell yourself, I should just be grateful. And on the surface, it looks responsible. But deep down, it's suffocating. Because every time you silence desire, you silence the part of you that knows where your life is meant to go. Desire isn't the enemy, silence is. Because your desires are not dangerous. They're a compass. And when you betray them, you don't just lose momentum, you lose direction. So you shouldn't be asking, how do I get unstuck? You should be asking, what do I actually want? And by the end of this video, I'll give you a framework to turn those buried desires into action. Because betraying your desires doesn't keep you safe. It just guarantees that you'll stay stuck. You can't find yourself by being who you think you should be. That's how so many people end up stuck. Living roles they inherited. The achiever, the fixer, the strong one, the quiet one. They're masks, not identities. And the truth is, every role you cling to is a role that keeps the real you buried. So what role have you been performing that no longer fits? Because naming it is the first step to dropping it. From childhood, we all pick up roles. Maybe you became the achiever because success got you love. Or the strong one because showing weakness wasn't safe. Or the fixer because chaos at home made you feel responsible. Those roles worked once, they protected you, but now they're keeping you stuck. Because the longer you play the role, the more you lose touch with the person underneath it. And stuckness is really just living in a mask that doesn't fit anymore. And roles aren't identities, they're survival strategies. What once kept you safe is now keeping you stuck. Role isn't who you are, it's who you had to be. So what role are you still playing that no longer applies to you? Because you'll never find freedom while you're still performing the part. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you abandon yourself. You think you're keeping the peace, but really, you're betraying your own limits, carrying other people's weight, ignoring your own needs. And here's the catch, the more you betray your boundaries, the more resentment you build, and the more stuck you feel. So ask yourself, where have I been crossing my own line just to keep someone else comfortable? And that's the exact place that you've been losing yourself. And every time you say yes when you mean no, you betray yourself. You know the moments. Agreeing to help even when you're exhausted. Smiling politely while someone crosses a line. Saying it's fine when it's not. On the surface, you're keeping the peace, but underneath, you're building quiet resentment towards them, towards yourself. Betraying your boundaries is the fastest way to stay stuck. Because boundaries aren't walls, they're the framework for freedom. And when you betray your boundaries, you don't just lose peace with others, you lose peace with yourself. So the question isn't how do I make everyone happy? It's where am I crossing my own line and what would happen if I stopped? And stick around for the end of this video where I'll show you how to set boundaries without guilt. Because every yes that betrays you is just another brick in the wall that keeps you stuck. If this is hitting home, hit like and subscribe. It tells YouTube to share this with more people who need it, and it makes sure you don't miss the next video when it drops. But make sure you stick around because we're going to go into 3 more betrayals, and these are the ones that hit the hardest in the end, and I'll give you a framework to stop betraying yourself and finally step out in your truth. So stick with me because this is where it's all going to start coming together. No one can take your power, but you can give it away. And that's what most of us do. We wait for permission. We let other people's opinions weigh more than our own truth. We trade our independence for scraps of approval. But approval is borrowed. Ownership is permanent. So who have you been handing your power to instead of owning it yourself? If that question stings, it's probably for a good reason. No one can take your power, but you can definitely give it away. And we hand our power away every time we wait for permission to change. Every time we let someone else's opinion weigh heavier than our own truth. Every time we chase approval instead of choosing alignment. It feels safer in the moment, but the cost of it is you get stuck in cycles that don't even belong to you. And you don't lose power by accident, you lose it by surrendering it. Because approval fades, whereas ownership endures. And when you stop outsourcing your worth, stuck stops owning you. So we're not asking who's holding me back, we're asking who am I giving my power to? Because power never disappears, it just sits where you left it, waiting for you to pick it up. If your future feels heavy instead of hopeful, you're probably building it on shoulds. That's why so many people feel trapped by their own goals. They're chasing careers, relationships and lifestyles chosen to impress, not to fulfill. But a future built on lies will always feel like a cage. So what future are you building right now that does even belong to you? Because until you answer that, no dream will feel like freedom. And like I say, if your future feels heavy, it's because you're building it on shoulds. That's why so many people hit milestones and still feel miserable. You land a job that you were supposed to, and it feels hollow. You hit the relationship milestone that everyone else praises, but deep down you feel unseen. You keep chasing goals because they look good on the paper, but none of them feel like yours. And stuckness in the future begins with betrayal in the present. A future that's built on should will suffocate you. A future built on truth will energize you. So instead of asking, am I on track? Ask, whose track am I actually on? Because betraying your future is the deepest stuckness. Waking up one day and realizing you've built a life that you never wanted. What's the deepest form of stuckness? Pretending the truth isn't true. You tell yourself it's fine, I can handle it, nothing's wrong, but you know, you feel it in your body, in your gut, in the silence you carry. Self-betrayal always begins with lying to yourself. So what truth have you been avoiding because you don't want to deal with it? Because that truth is the exact thing that will set you free. The deepest form of stuckness isn't shame, fear or silence, it's refusing to face what you already know is true. Tell me if this is familiar. Telling yourself a relationship is fine when it's breaking you. Pretending a job is good enough while it eats away your soul. Acting like you're happy when you feel numb inside. On the outside, you might hold it all together, but inside, you're drowning in the weight of your own denial. You can't build freedom on lies. The truth that you avoid doesn't go away, it just sits waiting for you to finally face it. And avoiding truth doesn't protect you, it prolongs your pain. And that's when it's time to stop asking, what do I need to fix? And ask, what truth am I avoiding that's already asking to be faced? Because the moment you stop lying to yourself, stuck stops having power over you. Across all the 7 betrayals, your voice, desires, identity, boundaries, power, future, and truth. The pattern's very, very clear. Stuck isn't about lack of opportunity. It isn't about luck. It isn't even about fear. Stuck is self-betrayal. And the way out isn't hustle more effort, or more shoulds. It's ending the betrayals. Here's how you start breaking free today. Spot the betrayal. Where are you silencing yourself, shrinking your desires, or avoiding the truth? Something's came to mind as soon as I've said that. Name the cost. How is that betrayal draining your energy, your relationships, your joy? Take one act of truth this week. Choose one action that honours your real self. Speak up, say no, admit what you want, face what you've been avoiding. Do that and start replacing betrayal with integrity. Stuck can't survive in that environment. And that's exactly why I created the Clan Training Grounds. There's my free Facebook community with monthly masterclasses and live hot seat coaching. It's a space to practice living in truth without the masks, the roles, or the betrayals. where everyone's in the same path and the same journey. So check the description, join us, and take the first step. Because stuck isn't a life sentence. It's just the cost of betraying yourself. And the moment you stop betraying yourself, you're free.